let's bring up Brent and then we'll get to the Destiny stuff. I know all my DGG, it's like 100 y'all in the chat. Like, God damn, where y'all come from? Do me a favor, like the stream. I'm gonna let y'all kick my back in. I told the mods not to ban anyone for, you know, as long as y'all keep it tasteful. I really don't care what y'all say about me. I know someone told me to like put my head in the noose. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's crazy out here. So anyway, guys, this is Brent. He does have his own sound effect. I haven't used it in a while. Where is it at? Where is that? All right, so we have Brent up here, everybody. What's going on, Brent? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am well. So what have you been dying to share that you won't tell me in email? You know how you be like, I'll tell you next Ranger stream. What's all that about?
In 2 minutes? That's not happening. So you have to make it if you there needs to be more time. But
like
to address what you said.
How much time do you need, Brent?
I mean, the conversation I had with David was probably it was 2 minutes. And
wait. You hear this, chat? He said, hey, I need more than 2 minutes to tell you about this 2-minute conversation. Where does that make sense?
Well, it's very complicated. Hey, yo, it's very complicated because I remember if Mike Bradley's in the chat, you spoke about the strike situation. It's very complicated. And it is very complicated. And
oh God. See,
we're already using up some of the time, so I'll just address what you said in this stream. So
no. Let's get into it. I'll give you 3 minutes. Here's the thing, right? Okay. He's talking about the Power Ranger strike, right? When you start asking people at these Comic-Cons about the Power Ranger strike, everyone gets fucking quiet like Voldemort is nearby and don't want to say, well, who said what or who said that, because they know that maybe not everyone is telling the whole goddamn truth. Everyone may be like, oh, well, it was all of us gonna strike, and then some people like, no, it was never all of us. It was just these people or it was those people. So you really can't get a clear answer when it comes to
but this channel has helped me so much because Francis and Walter, they filled in the pieces that David Yost refused to clarify. So hearing Walter's side, hearing what Francis said, we're assuming everybody's telling the truth, and David Yost was the missing piece. And
what did he say?
So I brought him a picture of Twee and a picture of Walter. And I don't know, I just thought to myself, there's nobody in line. The only guy that was behind me was it's Recording Time reporter. You probably heard of him. It's Recording Time. He's like a reporter for that station. I don't know if you've heard of it. You probably seen him on Twitter. He was the only other person in line. So I thought to myself, I'm going to ask David. And if I read the room and the room didn't feel good, but I decided to do so anyway. And I asked him about the situation about the strike. And I asked him, so I heard that the end result was 3 people were happy with their contracts, or at least grateful, and 3 people weren't. And that's the final result. And he's like, no, I was very unhappy with my contract. And I asked him, so what happened? How come, if you weren't happy, how come you didn't leave? And he was like, we went together to negotiate, and negotiations went bad. And then I asked him, well, negotiations went bad, so I'm assuming 3 decided to leave, 3 wanted to leave and 3 wanted to stay. And he said, no, 4.5 people after negotiations wanted to stay. 4.5.
Whoa.
I was like,
let's stop you right there, guys. He said 4.5 people wanted to stay out of 6, right?
Out of 6. So what does 4.5 mean? That means that's not like half a person. That means half of it. One person was okay with, or was either happy with both options or was unhappy with both options. And if we make assumptions, let's just assume that person was Amy Jo. She ended up leaving early, right? She ended her contract early. She left.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just assume it's her. She was either happy with both situations or unhappy with both situations. But to me, that's irrelevant
I agree.
because 4 out of the 6 wanted to leave. But I asked David
Whoa. You said 4
if
wanted to stay.
4 wanted to leave.
4 wanted to leave and a half person wanted to stay or go
And
or go.
4.5 people wanted to leave, and then the 1.5 wanted to stay.
Who was the one definite person that wanted to stay?
I was gonna ask him that, but it got. So let me finish. So I asked him if all 6 were willing to leave, would you be okay with that scenario? He said absolutely. And I was like, okay. And then I said, so, and he interrupted me because he knew what the next question was going to be. And he said, but this is a situation where it's between the 6 of us, and I want to keep it that way. And
That's bullshit.
well, we're gonna go with. We heard from Walter. All 6 agreed to negotiate together. We heard from Francis, who said that JDF was never leaving. So because why would he leave? Because it's good business to stay, and I don't disagree with that. But based off of what Walter and David said, they all agreed to negotiate together, and someone, according to what Francis said, that someone was JDF. I don't want to say backstab. That word is kind of strong, but was not transparent, and did their own thing and ruined the strike.
How can one person ruin the strike when 4.5 were
because
on it?
because
On it.
they all agreed to negotiate together, and David even told me that if not everyone agrees to it, then the strike, there's the chance of it working are not good. And so that's his side of the situation. So when people say, how come people AHA doesn't call David and Amy Joe backstabber, it's because this is my speculation, that David and Amy were willing to wanted to, or at least maybe David or Amy were not willing to go against the majority. So the majority was 4.5 versus 1.5. 4.5 wanted to leave, 1.5 wanted to stay. And what's the majority? That's the leaving. And when you negotiate together, I'm assuming there's a communication that you guys stick together as a team. And in most team situations, majority rules. Because before it was like 3-3.
Yeah,
Before
yeah,
you could
yeah.
say 3-3. Like there's a deadlock. So people just go their own ways. And you can't really blame JDF or Amy Joe or David or Walter or AHA or Twee for what they did. But because there's a 4.5 split, 4.5 versus 1.5, the 1.5 did not follow through, did not
Okay, I see
follow
what you're
through on
saying.
their
I
end of
see
the
what you're
bargain.
saying. So, but what Brent is saying, guys, is that they agreed that the majority will rule, and then when it came
Well, as a
down,
team, because when you
sure, sure, sure,
negotiate as a team, yeah, that's
sure,
assumed.
okay. Assume that if you negotiate as a team, you'll get a better deal. And then 1.5 people said, no, we're not doing that. And I mean, it's easy to say that the one person was Jason because at that time he was the most popular ranger. Would you
Right.
agree?
A-
So,
Absolutely. And
and
that's why everyone had to, because David
so
knew
not
that if not
everyone
everybody
they
agreed,
needed they
then
no, not everyone, they needed Jason. They needed Jason to agree. Not everyone, because he's the show at this point. If he was like, I'm gonna go on strike, then there's no show. And you know this because when he walked off of what, Turbo, right? And the show got canceled because it was like, well, Jason's not here, let's scrap the show. So without
because I don't
Jason
want to make
agreeing,
assumptions. I
I'll
don't want to
make
make
assumptions. I
assumptions.
don't give a fuck. I'll
Yeah.
make assumptions.
Okay.
If it wasn't for if Jason would have said, "Hey, I'm gonna stay with you guys," then it's probably no show. They probably would have better negotiations. But because allegedly maybe Jason did not negotiate with the team and went and cut a great deal for himself. I mean, at the same time, that just busted up the show. I mean, there were no kids calling saying, well, we need to see ASJ on screen because he was still there. They took Jason off the show. People start calling saying, where's Jason? Next thing you know, like, hey, we're bringing Jason back.
Right? And there's no issue in business wise. There's no issue. But when you give your word, when Jason David Frank talks about being a man of your word, and if he had the confidence to say from the beginning, I'm going to do my own thing, you guys do whatever you want, then I would have absolutely no issue with what he did. But he gave his word.
Who according to who did he say, hey man, I'm going to negotiate with you as a team?
Walter said that as a team they agreed to negotiate one contract, and as a team, when you negotiate as a team, then you're supposed to stick together.
Yeah, I mean that's what Walter said. I mean Walter said a lot of things. I'm not saying he's a liar, but Walter also said that Austin St. John was the face of the leader of the strike, right? But we later find out it was really Walter who was the leader of the strike.
Well, the face of the I mean, I don't know. You're playing some. I mean,
we got to get semantics, right? You're playing semantics. I'm like, well, that was what was said, that ASJ was trying to get everyone to band together when it really was Walter.
Walter was probably behind the scenes. I don't know what.
Not probably. Who's taking advice from the 19-year-old guy who just did the audition for $20? When people like JDF had a business, had a family, people like Walter had a family and experience in the game, you mean to tell me they're going to follow a 20-year-old Austin St. John to strike on his first fucking job? No way. I mean, you can cope.
But, sure. I mean, look, Henry. I mean,
I'll put you in the hot seat. Let's go.
We're going to argue it's not about staying on the show for Chase David Frank is absolutely was a smart move. There's no arguing that. But we're talking about when you give someone your word to stick together. That's one thing.
That's only one person saying it. And JDF was adamant in interviews that he never agreed to leave the show. And I played it on this channel. So now what you're saying is Walter's word is greater than Jason's word.
I mean, one word is not greater than the other, but I mean, saying, when
you're saying, hey, Walter said this shit, and I'm like, well, Jason also said something that contradicts what Walter said. So who are we gonna believe?
And then David also said, and then ASJ, obviously ASJ is biased, of course. Well, yeah, but I mean,
of course, ASJ biased. Now, if someone came out and like if the people who would need to come out and say something would be Amy Jo Johnson or David Yost, to say, no, man, Jason, he agreed to negotiate as a team. We took a vote. The vote won, and then he went rogue. And here's a curveball that I don't even think you're considering. That Saban saw the star in Jason and said, hey, I know what they're trying to do, but you're going to be doing all the heavy lifting in the movie. Why in the fuck would I pay you the same amount as I'm paying other people who want to have less lines and less engagement? That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make, of course, but
like LeBron James. Go ahead.
He made the in terms of his own self-interest, he made the smart business decision. But the issue you guys take with ASJ is calling he calls Chase David Frank a backstabber. And all that kind of stuff, and people like Sandy Rock, they question, why does he call David Yost, Amy Jo that? Because they also stayed as well, and that gives you because they did not, they agreed as a team, and Jason had every right to stay. There was no written contract that he had to stay with the team, but it's kind of like when you guys agree to negotiate a contract as a team, then.
Yeah.
What does that mean? You know,
it doesn't make sense to negotiate contracts as a teams in movies because not everyone is going to be on set as long as each other. They don't have equal parts in the movie. They don't have equal speaking roles. They don't have equal action scenes.
It wasn't just the movie, Henry. It was about equal pay
for the
not
show.
Just for the movie.
Yeah,
for the show.
You can go for the show too. It's their roles are not equal. Their checks should not be equal. I don't know where people get this idea that, oh, because we're on the same show, we should all make the same amount of money. I never bought into that. The lead actor, The Rock, is not making the same amount of money as someone who just has a 5-minute role on the show. You always have a star. Jason was this star. He was the quintessential star. There is no way that Jason, the star of the show, should make the same amount as Walter, who was kind of like a lackey to ASJ in the show. I don't see it. Batman doesn't make the same as Robin. Batman always makes more. You see where I'm going?
Sure. Absolutely. But again, we're not talking in the business. We both agree that it was a smart business in terms of business for Jason to stay. That's not the issue. But every time I see these ASJ videos where you play the Power Rangers playback, you always say he's a back. Austin John says he's a backstabber, and you get all caught up by surprise. And it's kind of like, well,
he's the only one saying it. No one else is saying JDF stabbed anyone in the back. Austin St. John is the only one saying it. Walter's not saying it. David Yost is not saying it.
He's not saying it. He's not saying it publicly, but
did he say it privately?
I did mention because I showed you the pic. I went to a comic book shop in California, and he was doing a signing, and I mentioned to him David Yost spoke to me about the strike, and he was shocked. Because David Yost, he's probably one of the nicest guys. He's not the type of person.
Did Walter say that JDF stabbed him in the back?
He didn't say those words. Not stab him in the back. No.
Did he say he gave us his word he was going to negotiate and he didn't? Is that what you're trying to say? He said.
He said that all 6 agreed to negotiate together. That's what he told me.
All 6 agreed to negotiate together. Probably. Yeah. And maybe it happened, and maybe Saban just was like, look, man, Jason, fuck what everyone else is talking about. You're going to make double the amount of all the people who's trying to put this silly ass union together. And we going to break bread and we going to go on to make movies. You want to make movies, or you want to walk away and regret not staying like Walter does to this day?
Sure. I mean, sure. Ken, we keep agreeing on the same point. Yeah. But so when you keep mentioning maybe ASJ had a point. Maybe the language is a little too strong, but maybe he has a point about what Jason did. He went rogue, and he previously went as a team. And Francis also mentioned about Twee, and when Jason saw her, he was mortified. I mean, maybe he has regrets about not backstabbing. Maybe that's strong, but not following through. I mean, and
maybe we don't know.
We don't know, but
dead men tell no tales. But I appreciate you coming up, Brent. As always, next Ranger stream, maybe we can get a little bit more. But I got to go to the main event. All right, shout out to Brent, everybody. That was him.
All right, thank you.
Talking in circles about ASJ and Walter and all that good stuff. Now, I know my Twitch audience has been like, they've been clamoring, they've been waiting. I do like the next true Ranger stream is going to be good. But what do you guys think of what Brent was saying? I don't want to just skip to the next topic. Do you think JDF backstabbed everybody? And I saw the super chat. What did he say? He said, why isn't Austin upset with David and Amy? They stayed. I don't know. Because right now you can't be. You need them to make money. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to make money? You got to play along to get along. That's the name of the game, guys. It's the name of the game. But any comments, guys, on anything?